Okay, Greasy Gears TV on the road again, or in the air again. Headed out to Las Vegas, Nevada today to test ride the new 2024 Harley-Davidson motorcycles. They got a really neat weekend lined up for us, or weekend. It usually happens on a weekend. Neat week lined up for us with a ride through the Valley of Fire, and on one day, we have the pleasure of having Cal Lyman and James Rispoli take us through some racetrack training, and then we're going out on the Vegas Motor Speedway with these bikes. So it's going to be great. Look forward to upcoming media content on these new motorcycles, how we feel about them, how they ride, and how you might want to have one in your garage. All settled into my room for the night. 7 a.m. comes awful early. That's when we're starting with the technical briefing, and then we get off for some riding. So stay tuned for more on the new 2024 Harley-Davidson motorcycles.
Harley-Davidson created the Custom Vehicle Operations, or CVO, in 1999 for the factory custom market. With higher displacement engines, Screamin' Eagle parts, and factory custom paint designs, Harley CVO models are the pinnacle of the bar and shield. The 2024 CVO Road Glide ST boasts a 121 motor that screams 127 horsepower with 145 foot-pounds torque. Of course, the elite experience doesn't stop with the powertrain. The rider also enjoys a customizable in-dash experience powered by Skyline OS with premium audio by Rockford Fosgate. Let's get this monster out on the track.
I gotta say that big heads-up display is kind of a neat thing. So I'm in sport mode. You can see it's set to be only focused on RPM in sport mode. As you go through the different modes, it gives you a different focus for the main information on the heads-up. Okay, so as a special little treat out here at the track today, we're getting some inside access to the Harley-Davidson factory race team. Some brand new stuff over my shoulder that you guys are only going to be able to see after February 16th. So at this point of the video on, let's go look at what's on the inside.
For coming. We're happy to have you here and happy to show you how the racing program has helped influence performance direction of the motor company, and specifically the great CVO STs that you've been able to ride to date. You are the first group, well, second group because of yesterday, but the second group to be able to see the 2024 racing motorcycles, and certainly we're excited to show them to the world on February 16th, but you get a preview here. It's the first time in the complete bodywork, so we've updated with the 2024 Road Glide bodywork. We've converted to the new engine, as well as the cooling strategy and the updates within the heads of the powertrain. Many other enhancements across the motorcycle, down to the gear position sensor that's on all the new 2024 models as well. There's really great ties between what the racing program has done and what the OE motorcycles are doing. We've been running the twin-cooled powertrain for the last couple of years, but now that's universal across all of the touring models, including the strategy of cooling the rear cylinder first, or the rear head first, before it goes to the front head. That's something that we've implemented on the racing program to keep more consistent temperatures, which is now available in all the 2024 models. But down to the suspension, the remote reservoir fully adjustable in the rear with the 1x1 fully adjustable front suspension, although a different manufacturer, is very similar in terms of function and performance. The concepts of lightweighting and the use of titanium and carbon fiber materials are directly carried over, as well as certainly the Scream & Eagle exhaust system that is the same shape as our muffler here, although it's difference of the exhaust, it's heavily influenced. It comes from the same manufacturer. So it's been a lot of fun to work on this project, and certainly alongside these two guys for 2024. And we look forward to kicking off what is going to be the largest, fastest King of the Bagger season yet. As we continue to grow, there will be no more or no less than 8 rounds, each of which will be a doubleheader this year, with the points paying race on Saturday and Sunday. So that's 16 races for the season. And stay tuned, because I expect another announcement, a further enhancement coming very soon. So it's going to be exciting, fast, competitive season. We're looking forward to it. Behind me, you'll see our 2024 King of the Baggers race bikes. It's the first time we've had them out on the track in the new fully updated configuration associated with our new 2024 Road Glide, and certainly our 2024 Road Glide ST motorcycles. But you'll see the new bodywork and configuration, and updates across the powertrain as well.
What are some of the differences, as vague as you want to be, but some of the differences from this bike to the bike that people can get on the street?
Sure. Well, this is a fully developed racing motorcycle, so there's a number of differences. The most obvious one being the rider's cockpits, but as well as the stance of the motorcycle. We run on 17-inch wheels, front and rear, and the bike is much taller than it is stock, and we do that to enable high lean angles, both left and right hand side. The frame, it's a production-based racing class, which means There are changes allowed from the base homologated motorcycle, homologation with the AMA, American Motorcyclists Association, and the rules developed in conjunction with Moto America. Primary rules are bodywork must be very similar to, if not, I mean, there's very small tweaks in terms of, incorporating a windscreen and a few minor modifications like that, but the bodywork must remain as homologated. Certainly, we've made it out of forged carbon fiber, which you'll see a theme continued to the CVO ST motorcycle, but the main frame and main engine cases must remain as stock as well. And it's amazing to be a part of for Harley-Davidson Motor Company when we look at the growth of the class from a novelty exhibition race in Laguna Seca in the fall of 2020 to what now is a full calendar of no less than 8 unique venues, and 16 races with a doubleheader at each round. We have a full racing calendar throughout the United States in association with professional road racing and Moto America, and it's really influenced the performance mindset within Harley-Davidson. You'll see that across our portfolio. Again, none better than the CVO ST motorcycle, but to see that transition from Racetrack developed directly back to the consumer product is what's really exciting as anybody involved in product development, and having that opportunity and the platform to go out there and push the limits and understand the true capabilities of the motorcycle, and then to take those learnings and incorporate them back into the product. This is really the first real testament to a product that's been influenced by the racing program, and it's exciting to see, exciting to be part of, and I hope that, expect that we're just getting started. So you've seen the real growth in the class. I mean, we're racing the #1 selling motorcycle in the United States, and people like to see what that motorcycle is capable of, and they like to see what the influence on racing has on that product. Harley's raced ever since its very early days in some form or another, and that forms have taken all kinds of different classes and types of motorcycles, but we haven't raced a true production-based motorcycle in a very long time. Even when we were racing, production-based superbikes with the VR1000 program, there's a limited number that were produced to homologate and be legal for the class. Here we're producing tens of thousands of motorcycles every year and racing those motorcycles on the racetrack on the weekend. Very excited to be launching the docu-series very soon. We don't have a specific date yet, but it's going to be coming out. Last year we did the first season of Push the Limit, which was a documentary. It was slightly over an hour long. You can find it on YouTube. Harley-Davidson Push the Limit, the story of the 2022 King of the Baggers Championship run. This year we'll be launching what is looking like a 6-part docu-series, each episode over 3 hours of content documenting not only the Harley-Davidson factory team, but as well as our factory-supported teams with Saddlemen and Vance and Hines. So you'll get to see all of the unique individuals that participate in the sport that are out there racing baggers and representing the Harley-Davidson brand, and I encourage you to go out and watch it. First race is Daytona. We kick it off on the high banks with the highest speeds that we see all year in the most demanding conditions. So as the Daytona 500 is often referred to as the most demanding, and the Super Bowl of NASCAR, we kick off in a similar way. And it's exciting to be part of all the fans and the history and the origin of Daytona itself in terms of a race on the racetrack. And for Harleys to be participating again, it's really exciting. So come out and watch. And that's the first of 8 rounds. So we'll be throughout the country.
So last year was an unreal year. Going into it, we knew we wanted to be competitive, and that was like the biggest goal, is to be able to win races and to fight for winning races and be competitive on the motorcycle. And with getting some parts and stuff like chassis parts like Jason talked about from Harley, it made us a lot more competitive in that regard. Vance and Hines did an amazing job, and with a little bit of luck we came out with points lead of Daytona, which kind of forced us into a at all cost every weekend to try to continue to hold the points lead, knowing that Factory Harley, Factory Indian were going to be probably gunning for us. And from then we just stayed super consistent. We were on the podium pretty much every weekend except for 2. And every race we were fighting for a podium place. So really all I could ask for in that regard. And yeah, it was an amazing year and a lot of memories, and super, super happy. So I rode an XR 750, a White's Harley-Davidson XR 750, one time at York, PA at a Cushion half mile. And then I got off all that until 2019 when I got the call to ride for Black Hills Harley-Davidson on the XG 750. And that kind of sparked my Harley-Davidson, I guess, career again. And then 2020 won a championship, and then rode for Vance and Hines in a fill-in, and then that continued to last year. So I went over to Europe and I raced in the British Superbike Series. I rode Super Sport when I went over there for a team called Team Traction Control, sponsored by Keith Flint from The Prodigy. And then I raced Superbikes over there, Super Stock, and then I ended my BSB career with Super Sport in 2018 and came back to America in 2019. In 2020, I rode for latest Harley-Davidson, and we did an amazing year. I won 5 races in a row, won 7 races, and we won the championship for that, and that's kind of what spurred the Harley-Davidson movement back in flat track. As far as, you know, they had a factory team, but we won a championship. They haven't won something in quite a while, so it was a big kind of push for Harley there. Both myself and Kyle come from dirt track backgrounds, and it's helped a ton ride the bagger because the bagger is pretty loose as far as a superbike, you would say. When you watch superbike racing or super sport, the more wheels in line and you are more like flow, whereas the bagger in its recent years has been a little bit more loose, hanging it out, backing it in, things of that nature. As the bikes get more competitive, as we put more development, the wheels are starting to come in line as we get more parts and do more things electronically with it. And so you'll start to see the bikes start coming back in line and get faster and faster and faster. But as far as now, the dirt track background has really made the crossover so much easier to ride a bagger. It's going to be a massive year for the entire series of King of the Baggers. From me, I got the call up. I got a lifelong dream to ride for a factory. So I'm a factory Harley-Davidson. Couldn't be more proud, you know, for myself, just to enjoy this year with that, because I think a lot of people in my younger years might have put way too much pressure on myself getting a factory seat. So first, number one is I want to enjoy this year with the entire factory and, you know, do Harley-Davidson proud, whatever that may be. Of course, fighting for the #1 plate and to be crowned champion with factory Harley-Davidson is a dream. And smaller goals for me is just every weekend be better and to try to win races. You know, last year we had 2 race wins. Let's try to beat that and see if we can be a little bit more dominant. And for the series itself, if it goes right this year, it could go exponential, like it could go worldwide. And I really think that this is the pivotal key year for King of the Baggers, where we stay domestic US or we spread its wings and we have more international riders. We're already seeing a few start come over, Troy Herfoss, you know, Ruben Zaus. It's more of a, like Jeremy McWilliams for him. You know, he's a little bit older, so it's kind of like a farewell tour, but, you know, to have maybe some more international riders come here to America, or do maybe a couple, you know, rounds in other places around the world would be so big because nobody's ever seen it. Everybody, you can just James Rispoli on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Facebook, just my name. So, and then yeah, follow Factory Harley-Davidson and you'll see me, and hopefully watch Moto America and I'll be getting the #1.
Yeah, 2023 was a positive year. We won a lot of races. We won 7 of the 14 events. We came up short in the championship, which was obviously you know, a bummer to fall short of our goal. But you know, fortunately, Harley-Davidson still got the championship, and we continued to grow the series, grow the championship, and continue to develop motorcycles for the factory. It's pretty special to have the CVO Road Glide ST come out this year. Is a pretty big moment for us, not only in racing, but the motor company, and being able to tie our product development back to racing is something that is fairly new to Harley, you know, as far as kind of modern times. You know, obviously Harley-Davidson has been racing for a very long time, but this is really their first foray into production racing, where what we're racing is actually the top-selling motorcycle in our, you know, in our offering. So it's pretty cool to see that, you know, obviously people are aware that the Harley-Davidson engineers are the same guys that work on the race team. So we have direct crossover into product development and vehicle dynamics. My crew chief is a 20-year employee of Harley-Davidson in charge of vehicle dynamics. So, you know, the things we learn not only in the dynamics and the chassis, but also in the powertrain, have directly trickled into these new models. New race bikes, you know, classic Harley-Davidson, orange and black, always feels like, yeah, this is Harley-Davidson, you know, the truck's all wrapped, orange and black, everything looks amazing. New leathers, it's like first day of school. So it's cool to have you guys out here and get to see it, a little bit of a sneak peek before we actually debut the new colors publicly. Childhood dream of mine, you know, growing up in a Harley dealership. My parents ran a dealership. My grandfather started in 1962. So yeah, went into flat track, went into road racing and racing super bikes of all kinds of brands, and never really thought I'd race a Harley-Davidson again. But this whole King of the Baggers championship and Harley's involvement has opened the door for me to ride for the factory team, which was always my dream growing up, and I'm living the dream, man. You know, it was all for show. It was something special, something different, and definitely a novelty in racing and road racing in particular. I think the rivalry between Harley-Davidson and Indian pushed both manufacturers to develop so quickly that it quickly became, yeah, this is serious. And it's showing in the lap times, it's showing in the competition. For us to be, you know, on the same second as a super sport class and just a few seconds off of super bikes now with these 620-pound motorcycles is pretty incredible. And we're still making steps forward in the development and seeing how much we can really get out of these motorcycles. And, you know, for example, the cooling from rear to front cylinder that's now in the CVO Road Glide ST was something we found in these race bikes. And, you know, the powertrain and, you know, carbon fiber, titanium components on the bikes, you know, directly trickling down. Yeah, it's cool to see that, you know, pushing the limits on the racing side is now allowing us to push the limits on the production side. 2024, 16 races, 8 rounds, added a new track to our schedule in Mid-Ohio, which I've always loved. It's only about 5.5 hours drive from where I grew up in New York, so we've not raced there since 2014, so to be able to go back to Mid-Ohio is really special. And yeah, just starting fresh again, going into a new year. Daytona's right around the corner, and all that excitement starting to build. And yeah, for us, we've got to get that championship back. We won it in 2021, got that title, defended in 22, lost it in 22 and 23, even though we won the most races. So got to clean up a couple things and keep the shiny side up.
Man, what an incredible day. Cal Wyman and James Rispoli taking us around this beautiful racetrack here in Las Vegas, but with good purpose. I mean, this is a place that you want to feel this. You know, Harley-Davidson has combined all of their efforts from the racetrack at King of Baggers for the last few years into a production team that has taken all of that information from the track. Now they're putting it on the street. This product represents the first time in a long time that that's the case with Harley-Davidson. You know, the VR1000 race program, everything else they've done have kind of been spec classes, you know, sort of not the same thing that you could get at the street level. This motorcycle is a direct descendant of the bikes that you'll see them race in King of the Baggers in 24 all across the country. Couple very notable things about this: way lighter, way lighter than the CVO before this. We're going to get into all the details about that. The 2 extra ride modes. There's in addition to the regular, touring sport mode, there's additionally a track mode and a track plus. Track plus, I just came off the track right now. It's very seriously all in your hands. Great delivery of the power, the race bikes, the actual package that they run is a lot like the track packages here that you ride on. Yeah, so technical specs, like everything's in this, as you can believe. 121 motor makes more power than its predecessor, both in power and torque. We're going to show you guys about that a little bit. And overall, pretty badass looking bike. They've taken some cues from the performance segment, obviously, with handlebar position, some of the styling here, the straight up bar. It's a really good looking motorcycle.
Just wanted to say hi, and I'm here because I also want to ride. So I'm gonna do 150 miles today before I have to head back and do some work. I'm looking forward to that. This is the longest I wouldn't have ridden these bikes. I've tried these bikes well before. I mentioned, this is the first big change in touring for a long time. In fact, our Rushmore bikes, which were the last touring change that we did as well, but 10 years ago. But this is no comparison. This is really from the ground up, a complete rebuild and new in so many ways, which I'm sure you're going to experience yourself. And you'll really have to experience it to understand it. All the tech sheets are great, but feeling the bike and getting to ride this on low distance, I think is going to show you.
Riding a 2024 Harley-Davidson Road Glide ST. We're headed out into the canyons around Las Vegas. Told that we're going to a place called a Valley of Fire. General impressions right off the bat, everything you would expect from today's Harley-Davidson. Bike has great features, looking down you can see the heads-up display on the infotainment system, but the bike is super smooth, nice amount of power right off the line. It's almost hard to get a rough ride from these bikes anymore. Depending on the ride mode, there's so much smart technology behind it. Integrated braking, the link braking. Definitely a higher revving engine. And that's, the Milwaukee 8s that I've experienced in general. Same, I guess, as when we went from Evo and getting used to the different characteristics of twin cam. But this one specifically is 117. Just shifted into 6th gear at 75 miles an hour, 2,500 RPM. There's, you can ride all day at that. It's not going to be taxing the bike. Doesn't feel like you're, really straining yourself or the motorcycle. So as far as, running ride comfort, that's a real pleasure. Now the braking in this mode really does a lot to help the rider. You know, you can feel it. You don't ever feel like, you know, the old braking systems where it was pretty much up to you. And when you get into a panic stop or a hard stop situation, you know, you can feel when you're on the edge of breaking it loose. Look at those mountains, baby. And this is a real treat that Harley's given us coming out to this beautiful terrain like this. Big sweepers. The suspension is just incredible. Guess I should talk about the bar height here for a second because, boy, this is definitely an improvement. The feeling of where your hands sit, totally natural, totally flat out. Now, one of the big things that everybody's going to be talking about this year is something they picked up from the race program, and that's the rear to front cooling, where they have liquid cooled cylinder heads, and the liquid circulates through the rear head first, the one that gets the hottest, and then moves up to the front head, and then goes back into the cooling radiator. Notice that, I guess from riding quid cams on older bikes, that I'm much more used to more shifting. And it feels like the place that they put the torque curve in these motorcycles, there's definitely less need to shift. I mean, the recovery of the RPM, I guess is what you would say. You don't have to shift as much. I still do. I think that's left over from being a two-stroke jockey. The difference in the ride from the Road Glide fixed mount fairing to the Batwing that you see here, you know, anybody that's been riding Batwing fairings for any amount of time, the size of these anymore, it's really, as far as handling and stuff, they're so much better. Let me show you my favorite feature on these new bikes. That's so badass. Why wasn't this invented forever ago? There's my heads up, music, all the good stuff. I think we're going to stick with navigation. Maybe. And off we go. Okay, so same 117 motor. Right away you can tell the bars are significantly lower, different position than the Road Glide. I'm actually riding this one in sport mode, which doesn't make sense because it's about to rain. In spite of this bike not having lowers, I'm feeling a whole bunch of moisture my legs hit. Let's see. I can definitely tell a wind difference from the Road Glide. I don't know if that's increased crosswinds because we're going through a storm, but definitely feel more pressure on my face showing. What else can I report? Suspension feels about the same. Like I said, I'm riding in sport mode, so it's a little more up to the driver interaction as far as controls and functionality, delivery, throttle response. You know, again, just like the Road Glide, the interesting thing is, so I'm in 5th gear, and different ranges throughout the RPM. And I don't feel like I need to downshift. You know, that means there's a nice broad torque curve. It's going to give me the ability to recover my RPMs in this gear. And at the same time, I mean, the bike's not plugging down low. Up tall part of the RPM, I don't feel like it's jerky, so it's still smooth, higher RPM. So all of that adds up to it. You don't have to work as much. You're not shifting up, down, up, down, up, down. So we're riding behind these other bikes. You can see the difference in design, you know, back over the model years. How much more aerodynamic from the back. The Harley-Davidson really started to pay attention a lot to not only the transfer lines from body part to body part, but how it all works together as far as, you know, the bike out of the elements, out in the world, moving through the wind. Trying to think about something I don't like, actually. I could definitely see being on this bike for the entire day, not really feeling any fatigue. The way, you know, combination of rider position, suspension, the performance range. This will be a comfortable motorcycle for a nice long trip.
From ripping through the Valley of Fire on the Street Glide and Road Glide to experiencing the brute force that is the CVO Road Glide ST on track at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Harley-Davidson continues to raise the bar. With the innovation from their race team driving design into their factory bikes, Harley is narrowing the gap between a performance bike and a touring bike. But just how much have they narrowed the gap? We suggest you throw your leg over one and find out.